Thank you for bearing with the technical difficulties. We're getting started now. So yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so this is, I will cut my spiel down a little bit. This is a show and tell from a couple students from Derek Schultz, and Leah Coleman's Runway and Colab show and tell, or Runway and Colab class. So this is a 10-week class that was for students. That was sort of like nuts to bolts. We started with really basic machine learning theory and making art using Runway ML, and then moved into Colab, and we were able to work with a couple different models. So we worked with style transfer. We worked with a unit model, which is sort of like cycle GAN. And then we spent pretty much. We also worked on next stream prediction, which is a video prediction model, and then spent most of our time probably working on style GAN, which is sort of the big model that we do in this class. So 10 weeks was one of our longest classes. And obviously during a pandemic, it can be really hard to stay concentrated. But I think all the students did a really great job and learned a lot. So yeah, so we're going to have presentations from a handful of students tonight. It won't be everybody. So this is sort of our schedule for the day. So I do want to say that if you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And maybe at the end of all of the presentations, we will go through and we'll be able to quickly go back and ask questions of folks. So, also please cheer on people if you can. Everyone deserves a good round of applause for being able to go from, in some cases, no machine learning experience to being able to generate images and create GANs and those sort of things. So we will start off with Stephen. So Stephen, I will stop sharing my screen and you can take over.
Okay. My name is Stephen Axelrad. I am right now in Long Beach, California, where I live. And I work in the class on style GAN and unit. And one of the requirements for style GAN is that you have a whole lot of images that are pretty similar. And I was wondering where I was going to get all those images. And I kind of like the idea of using the real world. So I took a walk to see what I could see. And lo and behold, I saw a lot of palm trees. And so that's something, I think I took 4 walks and I got about 500 palm trees. And that was enough to get started. Let's see what we got here. So I assume you can see my screen.
Yep, we can.
Okay. And these are the palm trees, some of the palm trees that I shot. And this secret to style GAN is basically trying to reproduce them and create fakes that are indistinguishable from the originals. And that pretty much is what happened. And it wasn't that hard, didn't take that long. These are all fake, and I really can't tell the difference. So that part of it worked pretty good. In the process of doing it, I started with a pre-existing image base that had already gone through training, and that's called FFHQ1024, which is flicker faces. And so when I first started, I had nothing but flicker faces, and see, like that. And very soon thereafter, I got something really gross, which is an in-between thing that you often see as you're switching from the flicker faces to your own images. So these are kind of zombies with their hair looks more like palm tree leaves than it does hair, and the trunk of the tree goes right down their face, and it's pretty gross. So I had to deal with that. Let's see. And I eventually did something with the palm trees, but in the meantime, I was just thinking, what about those flicker faces? And so I tried to do something with them. Yeah. So what I did is I put it through a bunch of projection type programs to try to clean it up. And it didn't clean up as well as I liked, but it started to clean up pretty well. And this is, I put this one through and you can see how it's projecting some very nice images. But one of the reasons why it did is I touched it up a little in Photoshop because the images are in the database that you've created, but there's no way to find them. There's like looking for a needle in a haystack. So if you can patch up an image and make it look like what you want, then you start to find the images that are cleaner. So now we have still sort of palm braiding in the hair, but it's a clean face. So that was kind of a curiosity. It took a while to figure that out. I think this was my original Photoshop image. And this one just shows you how bad it can get when it's trying to look for the image that you want. And it never got there. I looked at thousands of images, and this got as close as it ever got until I really kind of zeroed in on it and added a little Photoshop to it. And then it worked just fine. With regard to the palm trees, this is what they look like when they're animated. And that's sort of every palm tree in Long Beach, more or less. And I've been seeing palm trees ever since. I didn't think there were any at my house except the guy next door has one. But I counted the ones I could see from my porch, and there were 39 of them. So Long Beach is all about palm trees. So then I wanted to, I was interested in combining the palm tree with something else. And what I have about 1 million wedding negatives I've always wanted to do something with, but they didn't quite work because I didn't have 500 or 1,000 that were the same. I had maybe 50 of each pose. So I just went to Pinterest and downloaded a bunch of brides, and they're mostly advertisements, I think, or models. I photographed them from the rear because StyleGAN has a way of making faces. If you don't do it perfectly, it just looks like raw meat. So I didn't want to show the faces, and I just shot them from the rear. And then I thought it would be nice to combine those with the palm trees, and what we would have would be bridal palm trees. And so that came out looking a little bit like this here. This didn't happen the first time. It took a while to get there, but I kind of like these. And so they're brides and they are palm trees, and I like the combination. And when you animate it, it looks a little bit like this. And we can loop, lock it there. Let's see. So all of those were done with a single palm tree, actually, but it also used the database of palm trees. And this is a fake palm tree from StyleGAN. And all of the images came from StyleGAN, but they were processed in Munich. And that's what I have. So thank you.
Cool. Thanks so much, Stephen. That was really interesting. I love the combination of two really disparate ideas with the wedding gowns and the palm trees. It's really interesting. So next up for us is Let's see here, share. Cool. Let me find my slides again. They disappeared on me. All right, so next up is going to be Maylie. Unfortunately, Maylie couldn't make it today, but she sent along a video, so I'll go ahead and share that with you now. So Maylie is a designer and researcher, and she presented her project. So let me just switch to full screen view. And let me know in the chat if you, for whatever reason, can't hear our video, but it should work.
Hi, I'm Maylie. Thanks y'all for having me in here. And thank you, Leah and Derek, for putting together this class. And it's been really nice meeting all of you, my classmates. I can't be here in person, quote unquote person today. I'm going off into the wilderness. And I don't know where I'm even going yet because it's a surprise for me. So I've recorded this. Hi. This is my first machine learning art. So, you know, when we started at the beginning of class, we were poking around in Runway ML, which was really cool. It felt like Kai's Power Tools-ish, for those of you who remember that. And Faces to Flowers was really cool. So I had fun making my face into flowers. Thank you, Derek. Then I think the next thing that I played with was style transfer. Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about patents in general and like whether or not they're a good thing or not, especially in the face of what's been happening with the vaccine. If y'all have been paying attention to that, it's kind of dubious about the role of patents and how that's potentially, it seems like, from what I understand, has actually just been really destructive. Anyway, I've also been thinking a little bit about the aesthetics of patents and what they mean and how to play with that sort of within art. So as far as I got was playing a little bit with what it means to think about old style patents and newer style patents that I'm listed in, that I was playing around with seeing what happens when I smoosh them together. This one I thought was like interesting. I think I want to kind of potentially try something like this more with Munit. So we'll see where that goes. This is an example of one of the combinations that I used to make that thing. And then I started playing around with Style GAN. And that was really fun. Depressingly, the thing that kind of came into my mind, well, I should say first, I made a list of maybe, I don't know, 30 or 40 different ideas. I don't remember how long it was, but I made a list, like a little spreadsheet thing, and went over it with Leah. Leah, thank you so much for thinking through that with me. The prison data set was one of the ones that went up top of mind for a couple of reasons. One of them is because of the role of AI in predictive policing. And what that could mean, just the role in general of technology in the carceral system and in the police system in the United States. That came to mind. And the other thing is that there just are so many prisons. So I was inspired a little bit to think about what that would mean, just to give you all this. I mean, we do throw a lot of numbers around, but yeah, this is 2020 numbers that 2.3 million people are incarcerated, and you can see how the percentage of people that are like in there for reasons that you might think they should be are actually like extremely small. And this is a fantastic site to check out to learn more. I was inspired by Josh Begley's Prison Map project, which is thinking about like the actual geography of prisons, like what is the mark that they're leaving on the face of the planet right now. And Josh has kindly shared the data set with me. When he sent it over, it was, I think, around over 1,300 images of prisons in the United States. And given that StyleGAN needed a minimum of 500, I thought it was interesting that one of the sort of obvious data sets for me was one that was like extremely depressing. So yeah, this is, if you go over and look at the Prison Map project by Josh, you'll see a bunch of the data set of what I was working with. And you'll see how these prisons do have a very particular mark from a satellite view. So I took this data set and trained the style GAN on it. One of the things I was hoping to do is hook it up to some kind of other digital event to have it spark another generation of another prison. And these are prisons that were generated by the model after training it for some time. And then getting into interpolation. This was with linear seeds. Thanks again, Leah, for your help getting this up and running for me and figuring it out. And you can see how there's oftentimes a driveway around the outside, and there's a lot of buildings on diagonals, and you can start to get a sense of what this geography looks like. It was also interesting to see the machine generate its own copyright and watermarks. So what's next? I have just started pulling in like butterfly data sets, and I'm hoping to morph the prisons into butterflies using Munit. So that's one, and then I'm really looking forward to taking a bunch of sort of the digital side effects of doing of using some of the other scripts in data tools and training a model on that. So those are sort of the next two things that I'm like either partway into and they're just not in any state to show you, or they're just like I'm sitting here with a bunch of piles of data to do it. But yeah, this is what's next for me. And thank you so much, Leah and Derek, for putting this together and having us here. And and to all of you as classmates, don't be strangers. Hopefully, I will see you around. Take good care. Bye.
All right. Well, Maylie isn't here, so we can't thank her in person, but that was really interesting, and I'm really like when people show sort of their whole progress from start to finish, because I think it's, I think a lot of people focus on sort of what we make at the end of these classes, but it's really helpful to sort of see, what we make throughout the entire experience. So, really happy that she was able to share that. So next up is, check my slides here. So next up will be Ugasso. So Ugasso, whenever you're ready.
All right, let me share my screen. Oh. It says can you stop sharing your screen, Derek? Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Sorry, 1 second. I have to turn on my... I share my screen now. Okay, great. Oops. Sorry, new notebook. I'm still getting the hang of all the quick keys and things. Okay, so I spent a lot of time gathering a data set that uses Japanese mascots. I was inspired by Mondo mascots. It's this really cool and like random account that I think someone who lived in Japan, like an expat, started taking these photos of different, they're called the Yuyakeras, and they can represent different neighborhoods in Japan, and a lot of corporations too, and they kind of look like a little bit like Sanrio mascots. Some are more human-like. Um, and at first I thought about scraping the blog for images, but I didn't see a lot of content to use for StyleGAN to ADA, since you need at least like 500 images to 1,000 images. But then I found out there was this competition that ended last year, and it has different Yukaras from both the corporate setting and neighborhood setting. And so I spent time building a scraper with this library called Scrapey in Python, and collecting all the mascots from like 2000 to 2011, or sorry, 2022 to 2011. There's like some of them had romanicized names and some of them didn't, and some of the data formats were a little bit different between years. So it's a little bit of a headache gathering that. And then there are about 3,900 images in this data set, and I spent a lot of time just going through the images, resizing things in data set tools, and then like picking out which images like kind of looked the most uniform. Here's some of like the rejected ones. There's one that I wonder if you can find it. It's like a shrimp, but I'm going through kind of fast. But like this one is a mascot. I don't know what its name is in English, but it's just like an outline of a character. Yeah, and then there's this origami one, and then there's this one. This one was like the shrimp. Yeah, there are just like a lot of random characters, and some of them I wanted to try to get the characters that were facing forward, and kind of had their hands away from their faces, and you could see their feet. Some of them were clipped on the side, but let me turn this gallery. Yeah, so yeah, here's like the cleaned up images. They're originally, I think, about a little bit over like 600 by like 800, I think, in the size. So I squished them down to 512. And I've been running some trainings on them, but none of them are quite ready yet. I can show you something that's half baked, well, still baking right now. I have some fakes running here. Yeah, some. For this, I used pre-trained weights from a persona StyleGAN 2 model that I converted with the script in StyleGAN 2 Ada's notebook. But yes, they kind of look uniform. They all have like these like little dots in the eyes, like button eyes. And sometimes the training changes a little bit. It's still in its early stages. Yeah, I think this is like at 110 or something for the K images. So it's still changing a lot during the runs. And luckily I got a V100, so I'm just gonna let it run for a day until they kick me off and try to get up to like 1,000 and see what things look like. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I spent a lot of time doing the image stuff, and then this is just some random stuff I've been making throughout the course. I think my other ideas for this image set is like once I get it trained, or these images is once I get things trained, is I wanted to translate the descriptions of the mascots and then run them through GPT-2 or GPT-3, and have like a website where it generates an image and then it just has like a random description that's like made from those existing descriptions. And then I had a friend who was teaching in Japan, and she said a lot of these characters are inspired by food. So I was thinking about doing a CycleGAN model with local cuisine from Japan and these mascots, and see how that turned out too. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Thank you.
Thanks. That was a lot of fun. I really love this data set, and I can't wait to see what else you do with it. I'm also very interested. I love the ramen to celebrities. So I'm really interested in mascot to Japanese food. That sounds like it'll be a lot of fun. Cool. All right. So also, just as a reminder, at the end of this session, we will be taking a couple questions. So if you have any questions, either for the students or for Leah and I, please drop them in the chat, and we will take a look at them. So up next, I think we have Moises and Fabi. I don't know which order you two want to go in. I've got slides for Fabi. You go next. Cool. Okay. So I'll go ahead and hand over sharing to you.
Hi. I want to share my screen. Just give me 1 minute. And I did 2 things with the style GAN, again with selfies, and now it was the turn of Paris Hilton. So I've worked with selfies before in this class with Derek and Leah. So I made one time these internet humans and then the selfie GAN. So I'm going to share you my result of this is, I don't know if you'll hear the sound. Let me check again. Okay, sure sound. Nice. So, do you see it? So, I put a karaoke. You can hear like song. And well, I created this like 200 parties, and I just scraped I found a celebrity dataset in Reddit, so I just looked for Paris Hilton, and then I found a bunch of pictures of her, and then I cleaned my dataset. So she, in the dataset, she's always with the mouth open, so she's always like smiling, or like I had like these really weird results where she was like kind of screaming. So I want to share another. Okay, I'm gonna share a preview of the results of Paris. So, I'm sorry. Okay. So these are all like the different parties that I've got, and the truncation was like in 0.5, so I really didn't get like a lot of distortion, and that's why I was looking, because I used 0.7 and then I got like this kind of result, but like the whole faces, and this looks very alike, but I like the result because I have like the one like this Paris Hilton that was just like super. They look like Paris Hilton. Maybe you will think that it's not, and you're right, but they look like this one, and she has like this like tiny eye in comparison of the other, and then the model did that like in both eyes. So I liked it a lot that it got the detail. And then I'm gonna share again. I am working in this taco GAN where this is like a commission work that this is a project from Mexico, and this taconomics guy, he's always like trying to get people to create tacos and sell them as NFTs. So this is my taco gun. And the stamps are from the Mexican market.
2 kilotes 14 de tomates.
And yeah, I got a data set from Instagram, from a hashtag. And then it was like, I had to look for the specific taco. And well, I found a lot of guacamole over the tacos and pineapple and salsa. So it was like, it just, I wanted to eat tacos, and now that I see the taco gun, I feel like they look like something that they could do in Mexico with the taco gun. So thank you. I love always to take the classes with Derek and Leah, and thanks.
Thank you. I want to see a Paris Hilton to taco GAN now in like a cycle GAN model. So I will just always be pushing like convert people's faces to food, please. That's my one goal for every one of these classes. I also love the Paris Hilton idea because she has that distinctive pose she always strikes for photographs, and it's really like a cool idea of like sort of manipulating that. I also love there's like a couple of photos where there's like a cubist version of Paris Hilton where she's looking both directions, and those are really creepy, but really great. Cool. So Moises, I think you're up next.
I just wanted to add that
Yeah.
I made a projection with the taco, not with the Paris Hilton. So I'm gonna show you really quick.
Oh yeah, please. Yeah.
I can see that. Okay, share screen. Okay, so this is the taco, and this is the projection, and it's like making this noodle hair zombie person zombie taco person. So yeah, I I loved it. It was actually scary. The first time I saw it, I got really scared. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Perfect. I love it. I love food into people and people into food. So let's do more of it. All right. So Moises, I think you're up next for us.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna just put this over here. Thank you, Leah and Derek, for the course. It was an amazing course, 10 weeks of machine learning, going from Runway all the way to Colab, and just getting really acquainted with everything at every stage. I know you guys were holding also the in sessions in between the actual classes, so I knew that was a great opportunity also to put in more time. And I really appreciate the 10-week course, especially that I've taken like 4-week courses or 5-week courses. It gives you a lot of time to sink in and like go into the collabs, and just gives you the right time. So I really appreciate that. And then for this class, I've been thinking a lot about neural networks in all spaces, but how to link them into style GAN, back into like making an aesthetic image, making something like learning from pixels. So I kind of wanted, it's still in process, so I'm kind of sharing something in process. And the idea here is to do something with the market, and do something specifically with the stock market, doing something with the NFT market that is happening, and just finding a way to combine multiple neural networks. But I'll just start from the beginning. The piece I'm working on is called Beyond Markets. And this is my data set, at least my initial data set. I've been looking at like how each of these brands has a bunch of metadata, and more than anything, a logo, just a specific symbol that categorizes them in this data set, the S&P 500 specifically. And I really like something I've been getting into for the last 3 years is stock trading. And from an emotional level, I find it super interesting because you do like feel a rush of endorphins, whether it goes up or down. You start seeing these greens and these reds, and you can get stressed out. So what I did is I scraped all the logos for the data set, and this is kind of what I want to paint in an aesthetic way too. Is like, this is something you can see every day. It's something that changes. So I started by scraping a data set of the S&P 500. It used to be 500 logos, or 500 brands, 500 publicly traded companies. Now it's more like 1,500. And there's some very known ones, some very easy to get the logo from, and there's some that are super unknown and it's even hard to get a logo. So that was a process of kind of half scraping, kind of just half going into the source code and seeing where I can find the correct URL and kind of pinging the URL with JavaScript, and then going again and doing the data processing, making sure that each of the images were 1024 by 1024. Sometimes they weren't, and because the company was unknown. So it's interesting, some of these companies make millions of dollars, but they don't have a high res logo that I could find online. So here is all the companies. Some of them you might know, but it keeps going, and there's all types. So the S&P 500 is based in the US, but there's definitely international companies all the way through. And I always like picking a data set that is somewhat difficult to play with, like especially logos and text, and it's flat. There's not a lot of depth here. I kind of want to give the model something maybe it's not so accustomed to, and give myself something, an output that it's still kind of hard to play with the boundaries. And I've been looking at a couple of papers where they try to push this like 2D generation of logos, and they have great data sets, but they're usually like 32 pixels by 32 pixels or 28 by 28. So still kind of in the process of going there, but yeah, it's about 1,500 of these. And then I made like a little diagram here of just how the process has been for me. And so the main thing we learned in the course was doing a transfer learning with StyleGAN. And so here we had our source data set, our source pickle file that we would transfer learn from. And I've been also just trying to take classes to understand really what is going there. Like, what does it mean to freeze these layers and then put in your data set in between, and doing all the magic that's happening in this little downline. And so then we trained in Google Colab, and that was really great. I started with Runway a year ago, and that was really a great way to get up and running and start getting quick results. But then Colab, once I got more accustomed to using it and the file structure and linking your Google Drive and all of that, definitely getting these types of nice GPUs at a cost that I appreciated and I really liked. That was really fast to train with. So once I started training, I trained not too long. Actually, with the V100, I think I trained for maybe 24 hours total. And so these were the results that I was getting. And one thing that I really liked about training in Colab that I couldn't do in Runway just yet is I could train my model with only let's say half the augmentation, so they didn't have to be flipped. When they do the data augmentations, they usually flip the data set so that the text would be going both ways. And so in this way, to some extent, you could see that the text reads left to right. There's not a lot of mirroring happening. There's a lot of repetition, but it usually reads left to right. Something a little bit different. So it didn't learn much more than here. It always gets these like B's and A's, and it does starts making like all types of different graphic design, branded aesthetic. And I think a lot of it too is that the data set is so specific to these S&P 500 brands that it's not going to get too like glamorous with the kind of design that it's doing. And then these are these awesome and really like data heavy pickle files that I have to erase. But yeah, here's a couple more training sets. So yeah, I got kind of stuck here. I felt like this was good enough. It wasn't going to train much more than this. I liked here where it started also changing the background, but it felt like it learned the features that it needed to, at least from this type of data set. So this is where it started. This is like the image that it was training off of from, or like the reference image. And then this is me right here, kind of still thinking through what is it that I want to do with this pickle file. And so kind of my next steps are to, kind of my next steps are to go back into Runway and import the pickle file that I have from Colab. So then, doing the faster training there, doing the training exactly how I want that. It's not yet possible in certain other spaces like this software. And in here, still being able to do something I don't know how to do in Colab, which is hosted models. So I want to go and learn how to upload that model into my account, host the model, and then ping it from there with JavaScript. So then it lives on a website. It has a more interactive experience, but it is the right pickle file. And then this is just kind of my tech stack that I'll be working through. And yeah, and then there's just also the stocks market API that I'll be pinging for data. And as the data changes in the market, then that will update the hosted model and go from there. And then it'll get to my like portfolio piece, I suppose. And then I have a little version of what I'm trying to get to, and like something I'm really actually excited about is this thing. I don't even know how it works yet. I can do like regular like swing trading and things like that, but then I found this other thing called book map, and it's a type of trading user interface that I'm not accustomed to at all, but I really like how it looks. And it just has this odd pattern of like 3D shapes, and the way that it makes candlesticks is newer to me, and the way it has these like light speed kind of lights and blues and reds. I just find it really interesting how aesthetic it can get and how live it is. So I was really inspired by this new tool that I learned called Bookmap. And then what I made is here. And so it's kind of a combination of everything I just spoke about. And it's always good to have add some GPUs at the bottom to really show how it's powering this whole thing. And yeah, it's eventually like I'm trying to build this beyond markets piece to be about this like independent machine learning model that it's both like trading in the market to some extent, visualizing itself, and also representing itself, and in a physical way also putting these GPUs into space and making the virtual physical through the GPUs that we use. And so here's the piece. I'll play a little bit. One sec. I think I need to stop sharing and then share again with the share sound.
I am a consistently profitable trader. I am in tune with the markets. I am a disciplined risk manager. I never trade based on emotions. When trading alerts occur, my mind becomes clear and focused. I consistently make the right trading decision. I confidently move money in and out of the financial markets to make a profit. I do not rush into trades. I am calculated and analytical.
That is my show and tell.
Great, thanks so much, Moises. Yeah, I feel like we got like a nice range of projects here. So thank you, everybody. This was a lot of fun. It was really great to see everyone's work because honestly, I don't think I've seen everyone's work yet. So this was really fun for me too. Give everyone in the live stream chat a minute if they have any questions. But I've got one for everyone here. So a couple of you are return folks to this class, and a couple of you are new to these classes. For anyone else who's interested in getting started with stuff like machine learning art, what do you think is the hardest thing to understand or to wrap your head around? Any of you can speak up, or if you have questions. Yeah, go for it, Fabi.
I think the hardest thing that I struggled, it was cleaning the data set, like having a good data set to have a good result. Like with the selfies, with the internet humans, I saw it because I had filters and it wasn't like that difficult because the people already had filters. But with the selfie gun, I didn't have like the result I wanted because I didn't thought about guys that have beards. And then some of my selfies, they were female, but they had beards, and I was like it's interesting, but that wasn't like the result I was looking for. But and yeah, I think when you understand how to clean your data set, then you have the result you want, but you have to try it before you do it, because then you're not going to understand fully just like hearing like, oh yeah, you have to make your data set, and you have to choose your images, and you have to clean your data set, you have to crop your data set if you don't want like something like a code like crop it for you and align it and stuff. So I think that was like the hardest part for me to learn, besides code and other stuff. But that was like the first part that I think people should know, that you can do it. It's hard, but you can do it.
Yeah, I think data set prep is definitely a very hard or challenging aspect of this. Anyone else?
There was a whole data set course you taught, right? I think. Yeah,
Yeah, Leah and I did teach a whole dataset course that is available on YouTube. But even then, I think Fabi's point of like you have to do it once and then sort of see where it goes and then do it again. So much of this work is just about learning through making, which is why I'm really happy to see people keep coming back to these classes and update based on what they've learned. So yeah, it's it is a big challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think on my end, it is like making and learning at the same time, and you also start seeing what the limits are of the models. Like the models won't make, a work of art on its own. Like it's really you translating and playing along with your pet model and sharing that together and training it, growing with it. It almost has this, relationship.
Yeah, and I think Moises, you've also the sort of stuff you presented was also like finding the right tool to even display these things. There was a question in the chat about, how difficult is it to embed these style GAN models live into a web page, and I think you rightly pointed out that Runway probably has the best tools for that today, but that just means you've got to move all your data around and stuff, right? So, how else are you thinking about sort of embedding these live web page.
Yeah, I was actually seeing that somehow you can query Colab through Node.js, and I was like, that's on another level. Let me look into that. But then, and again, it's like deeper learning, and there's kind of that offset of, you know, how much are you willing to pay to get to your goal and like get driven there, or are you gonna like climb the mountain on your own and like achieve it in a, I guess, more liberating way. So I think that there's a balance too.
Yeah, the cost aspect is definitely one of the bigger sides of it, right? It's like you could set up your own GPU like server and ping that, but that's, you know, a couple dollars an hour, so it's going to get very expensive very quickly. So I do think Runway has made a nice sort of like in between step where like it might be slow to start up if you haven't had a lot of people visit yet, but it's available to you at a semi-affordable cost, assuming you don't end up on the first page of Reddit or something, which is still like that's something you want to happen, but then your bill there will be pretty bad. Cool. So we're just about at the end of the hour. So I just wanted to give another big thank you to our presenters, Stephen, Ugasso, Fabi, and Moises. Thank you to Leah for teaching the class with me, and also for manning the stream. This streaming stuff is always more challenging than you think it is. So thank you so much, Leah, for handling that. Thank you to everyone else who has watched in on the live stream. We try to do these after every class, so Leah and I are both teaching classes right now, and hopefully we'll do more of them in the future. So if you are interested in checking out our classes, you can follow me on Twitter at DVSCH. And Leah, I believe you are at Leah Cole, is that right?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. There are three Leahs. Leah Cole. And Leah is spelled L-I-A Cole.
Awesome. Yep. So we'll also, after this stream finishes recording, we'll also post links to everyone's social media accounts that presented here. So if you are interested in following up with the individual presenters about their projects, we'll make sure that you can find their work and figure out where to contact them. So again, thank you everybody so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.